You're listening to the Hella Well with Danielle show, a podcast taking women of color on a journey exploring all things wellness and travel related. We're all about showing you how to put on your oxygen mask first and creating lasting self-care habits that will free you to travel the world and live the life you truly desire, and not one you have to fake loving. I'm your host, Danielle Washington. Now let's buckle up and start this journey. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hella Well with Danielle podcast. I am your host, Danielle Washington, and have you ever met someone who you didn't instantly connect with, but when you got to know that person, you're like, yo, we share so much in common. Not only is my guest Samantha Washington, we share the same last name, no relationship whatsoever, and we connected through Patrice Washington, another connection, no family relation whatsoever. But like her story and where she's gone with what she's doing about people pleasing, like I've been watching her on social media and it was just like, oh, I feel triggered. I felt triggered because I was like, oh shit, I think I'm a people pleaser. And I was like, I need to have her on the show. I needed to have her on the show because what she's been talking about and the way she breaks it down, what it means to be a people pleaser. You know, what are the signs? Once you figure out that you are a people pleaser, what to do next and all these different things. And just her thought process was just mind blowing. And so I cannot wait for you guys to really connect with her. I encourage you definitely to follow her on social media because her posts are fire. But this the messaging. So make sure you have pen and paper together and you are ready because she is coming with fire to get your lives together. So you can stop I'm just surviving in life. Nah, Samantha is about to get you start surviving in life and stop being a people pleaser. So I cannot wait for you guys to listen to her and get ready for another great episode of the Hella Well with Danielle podcast. Hello, Samantha. Thank you for joining me on the Hella Well with Danielle podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Danielle. This is going to be a great time.
I love it. So I told you this before, but I just want to say it again publicly so it's on the record. Yo, sis, you are killing it. Like, I know when we first met through P2P, shout out to Patrice Washington, another Washington. By the way, we are not, none of us are related.
Right.
It's a bunch of Washingtons. It's a little fun fact if you guys didn't know, Washington is the most popular name in the African-American, Black American community. So just happens that we all have the same last name, but not related. Unless you're related to Denzel, I'm not related to him either.
I'm not.
But I remember we met originally through the program that we went through, and you were all about fitness. And then I started seeing these amazing posts that you were doing about people pleasing. I'm like, ooh, did she just trigger me again? I'm like, yo. I love everything you were saying about it. I was like, I have to have her on the show. So I'm super happy to have you here and to share your information with people about people pleasing. But before we even start talking about it, Can you just break down what does it mean to be a people pleaser?
So I like to say that people pleasing is pretty much where you are nice to people in order to manipulate them into liking you. Yeah, that's the best way I can sum it up to where I can snatch a little bit of your edges and also define it for you. Because I feel like psychologically, that's really what it is.
Okay, so I'm going to need you to go a little bit deeper. How can you explain how it's manipulative and because I think most people are like, is she snatching my own edges?
So, I think about it like this. So there are a lot of signs for people pleasing. And the goal is you're trying really hard to make other people happy, right? But you're making all these people happy at the expense of your happiness. So a lot of the signs are when you come from just putting yourself on the back burner. If you aren't content with who you are, you seek to find your identity in other people. And sometimes if you meet somebody new that you are interested in, and maybe they might not be sure of who you are yet. Sometimes a people pleaser would pretty much turn into a chameleon, and they would mimic that other person's personality so they can be liked by the person. And what that does is it takes away from that person to actually make their own informed decision about the people pleaser. because now they're not seeing the person for themselves. They're seeing the person as a mirror of themselves. And of course, they're going to like that, because if they like themselves, they're like, oh, you like me? Cool. I want to hang out with you. The problem is, like, people pleasing has a lot of issues on the back end, where if you end up feeling responsible for how other people feel. So you take on their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You're always agreeing with people. You have a hard time saying no. You have a terrible time setting boundaries. You're always apologizing. There's so many, but those are like a few of the main signs. Oh, the other one is like, you need to, in order for you to feel good, you need some type of praise. So if you notice, like, all this stuff has to do with what you're doing to get something out of, like, you're trying to get something out of the actions, right? So then not the setting the boundaries, but what happens? People take advantage of you. And then what happens? You become resentful. And it all started from you, like, pretty much not putting yourself and how your feelings first, suppressing your feelings, never showing who you truly are. And then, you get lost in the sauce. You lose your identity. It's always about the people and never really about you. So yeah, essentially you are manipulating people because you're being nice, but it's for a reason. You want something out of it. You need some type of validation. You need to feel good. So you'll do something nice, even though you don't want to get that thing out of, to get that good feeling. Oh, thank you for watching my baby for the 18th time in 2 weeks. You're amazing. And you're thinking to yourself, oh man, I like, that sounds good, but man, I am dying. Like, I hate babysitting, but I will do all of this just so I can hear that, because maybe you didn't hear that growing up. Maybe before you were a people pleaser, you were a parent pleaser. So yeah.
That's deep, because I saw so many different aspects of my life and I was like, ouch, ouch. And oh my God, that really hurt. Like, I need a drink. That one hurt. So it was interesting. So for me, I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh crap, like the chameleon thing that hit home, because I found myself doing that, especially when I was dating when I was younger. Because that was my thing, like, especially when I was younger. Before there was online dating, I'm totally dating myself. Before there's online dating, there was AOL chat rooms and stuff like that.
Yes, I was in those.
Me too, clearly. But even after that, but I would, meet a guy, and I so didn't value who I was at the time that I was like, okay, you want me to be this ratchet girl? I'll do my best. No, I'm far from ratchet. Just a little bit, but not really.
Yeah.
But it was all about, who do you need me to be? And I would get mad when they weren't excited that I had changed into being exactly what they wanted.
Yeah.
I'm like, how dare you not appreciate me putting on the best acting role of my life?
Right.
Yeah. But you look at that. And I also just did a podcast episode on being a fixer. Because that's why I had to really check myself. Because I was just like, I remember I was walking one day, I'm like, do. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be a fixer. That does not give me joy. And I had to even tell myself, I'm fixing other people, just like Olivia Pope did, to mask what I really need to fix in myself. And that was like ooh, dang, okay. So yeah, and I never thought about it as being a people pleaser, but I think a lot of times people who are natural caregivers or oh, I'm just a caring person, I'm just a giving person, and we give, and especially women of color who feel like that's part of being the strong Black woman or strong woman of color, that you have to give and you have to people please. And I personally didn't see it as being manipulative, but it totally is. I totally see your point.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I was that same way, changing my whole person to get somebody to like me, and then they don't like me. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, how dare you, and then also the fixer thing is big. One of the things I had to learn was when somebody shared their problem with me, Because again, people pleasers take on the emotions of other people and they immediately feel like they have to do something about it. Wait for the ask. Wait for people to ask you for help.
Yeah, we normally don't.
Yes, no. We're like, we assume that when they are venting or they're sharing their problems, that they're telling us because they want us to fix it. And so we assume the roles and the responsibilities, even though we have all kinds of other fixer-uppers that we have to do. We just take on another one. And that's how we end up with all these tasks and we never get anything done because we're always have a to-do list of things, doing this for this person, that. And, but yeah, that fixer thing was is one of the signs. And it just, you might be empathetic as well. Empathy and people pleasing go hand in hand, and taking those people's emotions on it's hard because we're so we just want to help, but yeah. I think waiting for the ask was so important for me because it allowed me to see what was I like. First of all, why was I offering to help? Like, they didn't even ask me. And then also, waiting for the ask allows you not to get set up for disappointment because sometimes you like ready to help and they're like, no, or you did all this stuff and it doesn't seem like they appreciated it. And they were like, I never even asked you. And you're like, oh, shoot,
Yeah.
So
what was your big aha that you were a people pleaser? Like, how did you kind of tie it in together to get to this point of where you're helping other people recognize it?
Oh, man. So I'm so glad I actually have an aha moment because for a long time I was like, but I actually ended up having that moment right after George Floyd's murder. Yeah. So I moved to the neighborhood I'm in now. I am in near St. Augustine, Florida. It's predominantly white neighborhood. And so I remember moving there and just looking at everybody. I'm like, none of these people look like me. Okay. And they would look at me funny, like, what you doing here? And I'm looking at them like, what you doing here? Because we both seem to be doing the same thing. Okay. Buying houses so we can live in them. It can't be that hard. Right. So I live in a cul-de-sac, and which I thought was going to be so exciting because being in the military, you don't really get to pick and choose where you get to live. You just, and, we never got to the house in the alley where there was like, we can just go out in the backyard and the other person's backyard. They were just hanging out. We didn't get that. We were always out in the open and we had to go a distance to find kids because I have 2 kids and, find other people. So anyway, living in cul-de-sac was exciting. And the thing is, the neighbors that I had, so all my neighbors are, I've got a couple, one Filipino family and then a mixed Colombian and white family, but the rest are white. So American. So it was interesting, but I wanted to come out of my shell and start hanging out with people. This is pre-COVID, 2019. So started like coming out of my shell. Let me start engaging with people, even though I'm like a little insecure of how they feel about me. It's fine. Just get out there and like, shock them and make them realize that you're just a normal person, no matter if you're brown or black or whatever. So started hanging out with our neighbors in the cul-de-sac. They were just making jokes about me that I didn't like. And they were microaggressions for sure.
Oh, hell no.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm one of those people. Yeah. Listen, they're trying to get an uppercut to the chin, trying to get sent home early. All I know is I picked it up quickly, and I'm very observant, pretty keen, pay attention. That's probably why I was in the military. But I didn't like how I felt. So I know that I used to, bottle things up and I wouldn't speak it. And for one, I didn't trust myself. So I didn't say anything in the beginning, but then I started to bring it up in like casual ways, like, hey, I don't really like that. Like, that's not funny. Let's talk about something else. And I guess they didn't care because they kept doing it. And so called it out again. And then after a while, I just stopped hanging out with them. I just couldn't take it anymore. So then after George Floyd's murder, I decided I'm going to call them out in my Facebook post. I'm just going to call out. I didn't speak, literally name anybody, But I just said, I have some neighbors in my cul-de-sac that I believe are prejudiced. And this was like the perfect time. You know what I mean? Because I was just getting tired of it. Mm-hmm. And they were like deflecting. They were like, after all we've done for you, mind you, I'm trying to figure out what the heck did you do? And again, I didn't name anybody, but the people that I was actually thinking about when I was writing that post were not the ones that initially commented. They were others. And I'm like, wait a minute, you too? And I'm like, of all people, like, I'm shocked that you would actually say that. So not only are you not acknowledging what I'm saying, which is proving my point, you're now deflecting and, trying to tell me that, what you've done for me is not comparative to how I feel. Or you're comparing what you've done for me with how I feel. And they're not even on the same wavelength. They're not even in the same category. Mm-hmm. And it blew my socks off. So I was like, wait a minute, if I'm feeling like this, there's got to be other people feeling like this in my neighborhood. Because I don't see any Black people in my neighborhood. Like, I don't see them. And I know they live there. Yeah. And so I decided to go on my community page. I'm like, I've been experiencing some prejudice in, what's the word? That word. In my neighborhood, in my cul-de-sac. And I was wondering if anybody is feeling the same. And so people were commenting, I'm sorry you felt like that. I'm sorry you're experiencing this. And then I had some people, like, Black people that were like, I've gone on walks and people would put their flashlights. I would be walking my dog and they got their flashlight on me. Yeah. People were like, yeah, somebody called the cops on me. And this was actually after, but somebody called the cops on me for parking in the handicap at the school. And I actually had a handicap sticker and I knew it was because I was Black. I mean, there were so many other things. And then there was others that were like, how dare you say something like that? Nobody here is racist. I'm like, first of all, I said prejudice, but okay, since you don't know the difference, sure, whatever you want to call it. But I said, I feel like this is my feelings. This is what I've experienced, and I'm going to stand firm on it. And when I got more backlash, I started cowering. I started like not trusting how I felt. I was not like, I had a hard time, dealing with the feelings. I'm like, all these people are saying no, 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 no. And although there were other people that are saying yes, 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 like the negativity was louder. And it started making me feel like what I felt wasn't real. And later that day, we actually talked to the neighbors about it. It was about 2-3 hours of total gaslighting. Complete. One of my neighbors actually wanted to you can tell she was getting like really aggressive and wanted to come at me and wanted to hit me. And I was like, ooh, I would hope you would come. I would hope you would come so I could literally create a new landscape for my front yard, because I surely was not about to let you think that you can do, you can really just come at me like that for no, and there was no reason for her to do that besides, the fact that she probably just hated the fact that I called her out on something.
Especially at that time.
Especially at that time. So yeah, it was the gaslighting. It was the white tears. Her husband actually was crying because she was saying that, we don't have racism in our neighborhood and it doesn't happen on our cul-de-sac. And I'm like, how can you say that when you're not the one experiencing the prejudice? I was like, you'd make no sense. And anyway, he started crying. And then, the gaslighting, what are you talking about? Or the deflecting, I grew up in hard times. I guess comparing, growing up in hard times as a white person is the same as being prejudiced and racist. And oh my gosh, it was a mess. I got tired of it. And in the meantime, my husband was there. He actually came home from work. He's in the Navy. He came home from work and he was there. We were having the conversation together. And my husband was kind of like neutral. I guess he was trying to play the moderator. Is that what it is? Mediator. That's it. He's trying to be the mediator. And I'm like, you should be on my side, because if anybody's Black, you're Black, and you're Black, black. So where are you on this whole situation? I don't even see where you stand. Anyway, done with the conversation. We go inside, and I thanked him because I was really passionate. And sometimes when you're passionate, it's hard to get everything out. So he was helpful in trying to explain things to me, but he was still not on my side, which I really didn't like. When I came inside, and we came inside after talking to them for hours, nothing was accomplished. He said to me, he's like, wow, I agree with you. I can't believe they were saying this. And I'm like, wait a mother effing minute.
But you didn't say anything.
Where were you out there? So yeah, after that, I was just unsettled for hours and hours. The next day he had to go to work, and he had to in the Navy, they call it on duty. So he had to be there the whole day. And so I wouldn't be able to see him until the following day. So after talking to him, I just felt this deep feeling of just like, I just felt like I was by myself. And that's when I realized, after, all the things happening and just the feeling just not going away, I was like, wow, I have been looking for everybody else to validate my feeling except for me. I was looking
Wow.
for someone else to agree with me. I was looking for someone else I was looking for permission to have this feeling, because not everybody, but a lot of people were, very strongly disagreed. My own husband was like on the fence, but I later figured out why. But I was just like, wow. And I started looking up stuff like, why am I feeling this way? Why do I feel like, my feelings are not mine? Like what? And it I eventually turned into me finding out that I was a people pleaser. And
Well, dang.
yeah, crazy, right?
Like, well, damn.
I will be damned. Yeah, shocking.
It is and I love that you have an aha moment, because not everyone can pinpoint when they realize this, and to be able, because when you pinpoint it and you have the awareness, that means then you now can investigate further what you did to redefine the life that you choose to live. But
Exactly.
what do you think is at the root of why people become people pleasers? Is it childhood? Is it trauma? Is it just a personality trait? Like, what do you think is the root?
This is a great question. For me, believe that it was my upbringing. As I said before, I was parent pleasing. I grew up in a condition, love was conditional in my household. Okay. I grew up with a narcissist mother. I later learned that from, again, all of my research. And so I was verbally abused, emotionally abused, physically abused.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that I can receive love is when I got good grades. I did something that, and my mother, my mother was, we were raised with single mom. She was always working, always busy. And so there was no emotional connection. And so I had to find resources to get love. And
Yeah.
I had to do, and I felt like my performance, right? Love was just performative. I was based on performance. So I had to do all the things to get it. So when I realized that, I was like, wow, no wonder I people please. I am now again performing, doing the things in order to get what I needed, because I didn't believe that, after being told that I wasn't good enough, I was this, I was that. I believed that. That became my inner voice. So now, as an adult, I'm still believing that I am not enough unless I do or be what people want me to be. So going from parent people pleasing to people pleasing, it's really not hard. It's really not hard to go down that road. If you haven't been made aware of it.
No, I agree with that. And I relate to you in so much that, my parents weren't physically abusive, but both of my parents, I can say card carrying, are verbally abusive even to today.
Mm-hmm.
I just now know that the way things are different is I'm different. I show up differently. My boundaries, I'm like, not today. You want to be an ass? We're out.
We're out of
It means
here.
you're going to be on the bus because I'm out. So you change your attitude, you'll have a ride to your doctor's appointment.
Right.
But as a child, I actually utilize the whole conditioning love to my favor. So I got to the point where I recognized my dad didn't like to talk to me for some reason.
Yeah.
Like I was a bother. So it was a bother for me to be there.
Yeah.
Like when I wasn't a boy, even like in high school, I was like, can't you just do a black sport? So I did track, which I liked only because I was winning, but I didn't like track practice. I'm like, well, that's for the birds. This is too much work. I don't know what y'all be doing. This ain't soccer.
Right.
This is too much work for me.
Oh my gosh.
But when I was younger, if I wanted to go out to see my friends, like when I was in middle school, I would do this thing where I'm like, hey, how's it going? Like, I just we don't talk often enough. Like, what's going on in your world, whatever. And he's like, get the fuck out of my face.
Oh
I'm like, can I go to the mall? Sure, whatever. And I was like, but I knew that I had to be a certain way to get what I wanted. And that's me manipulating them backwards. But like, I also knew like I couldn't get enough good grades, even though I tried. I couldn't be my brother, even though I tried. And he had only like, and I'm like, why? He's not even a good person. He's not even smart. But I still wanted. I was like, okay, I see all the love an admiration for the sports that he's doing. It is who he is as a person. Like, okay, what do I need to do? And so I would try all these things. And then eventually, at one point, I was like, fuck it. If I can't get this love, I'm going to get the attention the other way. And so for me, I acted out as a child. I mean, I was notorious, allegedly, for putting holes in walls, taking doors off the hinge, allegedly. Allegedly. But that was my way of trying to get their attention. And then I found, again, I guess it goes back to the dating thing. I found myself doing other things to get people's attention. One way or another.
One way or another. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That is so good. I definitely resonate with you when you say, your dad was like, it's like, why you did the thing to get me here?
I would say that literally as a child. I'd be like, y'all fucked to get to me here. So I did that. I'm like, I didn't choose to come here. Right. Y'all chose to get together. You got pregnant and you didn't decide to abort me. You chose to still keep me. Right. So why are you like, I used to get really angry as a child. I actually even tried to divorce my parents. This was before Kramer versus Kramer.
Wow.
Looked it up a lawyer in the yellow pages and tried to divorce my parents. Clearly that didn't work out. I didn't know about CPS. If I knew about CPS, oh my God, it would have
You'd have been like, good thing. Because listen, I heard these CPS, little cray, okay?
No, my sister-in-law and my brother both work for CPS. And it's funny. So my niece and nephews knew about CPS as kids. But I'm like, if I knew about CPS as a kid, oh, honey, my parents would be in so much trouble.
Yeah. Facts. Yeah. That's interesting.
So we figure out that we're people pleasers, English. We figure out that we are people pleasers.
Yeah.
What's next? So now you know you're a people pleaser. What do you do to overcome it?
For one, since you know that where it came from, you've got to start, at least I did. I had to start writing my thoughts down because I was angry. Okay. I was angry growing up, mad. Like I took a lot of pictures like this, my, brows as close together as they can, my lips just, pinched together. I was mad, but I was selective of where I was mad because I didn't want the people that I liked to see me that way. Right. So, and I knew that I was mad because of the things that I dealt with at home. So, the things that my mother said to me, like I said, became my inner voice. So I had to start writing because I love to write. I loved to write. And so I had to start writing down all the lies that my mom, spoke over me, all the lies I believe about myself based on what she said about me. I had to write it down. I started using voice notes also because I can't write as fast as I think. So I was like, listen, girl, just listen, press this recording so you can play this. So I had to start writing all the lies, all the negative stuff. And then I had to cross that thing out and write what the truth was. And that's how I learned to start affirming myself because I had to recreate the narrative in my head so I can see the life I wanted to see because the life I was living was not it was not good. Okay. I was like a lot of the things like the anger, that was deposited in me. I kind of passed it on and threw it up all over my kids. And I didn't like how they were reacting towards it. Sometimes anxious, and it was just me not realizing what I was dealing with. Yeah. And so I had to learn how to start affirming myself, speaking, life over myself, envisioning a life that I wanted and writing it down. And as corny as it was, I had to start speaking those affirmations. And like I said, I would record it, I would speak it. And when I speak it, it was like listening to my future self talk back to me. And it was corny. I ain't gonna lie. It's because I'm not used to hearing nice things. I'm used to being treated wrongly. So that was familiar, So when people get in relationships with narcissists, it's not because it's they missed a red flag. It's because it's familiar. It's a blind spot. They grew up with it. So that's all they know. So I had to, as uncomfortable as it was, I had to start, speaking that stuff and being, changing my attitude, commanding my day, and just literally just changing that, like that whole mindset. The other thing I had to do, because I was people pleasing from all of this, is starting to realize what the heck were my limits? What was I no longer going to allow? So I can become more assertive.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I decided what my limits are. That means I'm trusting myself. I'm becoming more assertive. And I had to practice being assertive. I had to be in the mirror. Like, I don't like when you do this. So I'm not going to engage with you when you do this, or I don't like this, because that allowed me to set boundaries, And when I started to do all these things, boy, my life is different. Okay. My life, like, I know that, I can feel the difference. I felt free. I didn't have all this crap that I had to do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My car wasn't all full of junk because I never took care of anything, because I used to pull up next to people in like stores and I'm like, oh, don't look in my car. Don't look in my car. Don't look in my car. Because it's a hot mess. I got everything in the front seat, just a mess. My house, a mess. And it wasn't that it stank, it was dirty. No, because after a while I got tired of it and I was like, I need to clean up. But it took for it to get to that point because I was allowing all this stuff, everything. So when I started saying, starting being more assertive, understanding setting the boundaries, I was able to say no, which was revolutionary for me. Like, no wasn't in my vocabulary. I was always saying yes. I was a yes person. And so, I'm telling you, I felt so much better. I stopped asking for permission. I did what I wanted. I trusted myself. I didn't second guess myself. Even when I create my posts on, on Instagram, I would often second guess myself in the past to the point where I couldn't even get my post out because I was so worried about, like, did I say this right? Am I going to offend somebody? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I had to, or sometimes I need somebody to look over this. Does it make sense? Now I post whatever the hell I want. Okay.
Yes. And they're great.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you're saying you're doing you.
Yes. And you know what? I post more. I post more when I stopped thinking about all that stuff. I'm like, and I'm a creative. So in my mind, when like I used to like post all the time, like, the people need me, blah, blah, blah. And again, people pleasing, people pleasing in my business pretty much. That's why I went from, fitness to where I'm doing now. Because in fitness, I had a codependent relationship with my clients. I wanted to be needed and I know they needed me. We created this codependent relationship and now I wasn't happy. They were happy. I wasn't happy. And I knew that in order for me to grow and for them to grow, I need to get out of this codependent relationship. So even all the posts that I was making, they weren't the way that I wanted. And finally, when I let go, pivoted, things were just flowing. I stopped posting every freaking day where it felt like a chore and just posted what I wanted. And it made a hell of a difference, a huge difference, so much more value. So like all this stuff started changing for me. I gained more clarity on who I was and what I wanted to do and what I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy. So, but it took work because I was, after realizing I was a people pleaser, I was in the depths of depression for months. I was having I was dealing with sleep paralysis. Mm-hmm. And with sleep paralysis, I would have it maybe like 3 to 4 times a year. Girl, I was having it every other day.
Dang.
It was bad because I ended up seeking a therapist so I could unpack what I was learning because it was overwhelming and I needed somebody to explain it to me. And so doing that work also was necessary. Now, for me, a therapist was necessary because I needed to I wanted to know now, like what the hell is going on? If you're patient, different. You probably could go through the process. But for me, and because we were able to afford it, thank God, I was going to the therapist as well. But all this stuff, man, I mean, it was like about 9 months going through some stuff. But I am so glad I did the work. The pain that I went through has birthed this thing, my passion, my purpose. And So like all of you guys that are listening, I'm encouraging you. If this resounds with this really is something that is touching you, I encourage you to do the steps, that I've mentioned. Because there's so much, there's so much that you're meant to do. There's so much that you want to do. And you're so stuck in this people pleasing world that it's keeping you from your next. And let me tell you something about getting to your next. Okay, Danielle, I used to think that where I wanted to be would take forever, but it wasn't until the awareness came and I literally burst open the door to my next level.
You kicked open the door.
Listen, donkey kicked both feet.
Yes.
And I'm so glad. I'm so happy. I'm so excited for like what's to come. I'm not worried about people and what they think about me. It's freedom. So it's freedom. That's all I got to say about that.
I love that. I love that you shared your healing process. Not everyone's healing process is the same, but people know that there is a path that they can choose. Therapy is bomb. I'm a strong believer in therapy, but that there's a way, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, it's going to take years to figure out.
Yes.
You're ready to do the work.
Right.
But I also love that you talked about the correlation between codependency and people pleasing, because I don't think people really put the two together, but they are so connected.
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't realize how connected it was. And this is why I do like, I'm like, when I'm talking about people pleasing, that's when I'm talking about narcissists, because there is a codependent relationship that people have, like people pleasers have with narcissists. If you were raised by a narcissist, there's a chance that you end up dating or marrying a narcissist. Also, if you end up, dating a narcissist and you leave them, you might end up with another narcissist, because if you're not realizing or recognizing these signs, you're literally, and I'm about to throw another word in there, you're trauma bonding with you have those bonds, and it's like you don't value yourself and you're with someone that doesn't value you, but they need you as supply because they see you as someone who wants to help them. They don't see themselves as needing help, but they see you as someone who wants to help, and they just but really they're just getting the attention. So you want to help, but you're giving them all the attention. And boy, that is that type of codependent trauma bonding relationship. It's just one person is doing the helping, the other person is just taking, and it sucks. But they both need each other. They need each other in the relationship. And I knew I was definitely granted it was a narcissist but I was definitely people pleasing in my business. And I knew that, I needed to stop because it wasn't serving anybody.
Yeah. And I think we do that, especially as, people pleasers or people who are saying that they're healers or, caregivers or whatever you call yourselves, is you have a tendency to have these codependent relationships in your business. And I found that I definitely was doing that in my business. And even you were talking earlier about posting on social media, I call it the shoulds. Like I should all over myself. And I don't do it often, but there's certain instances I do it, and I find I do it the most in my business. I'm like, oh, I should be posting. And I'm like, but I don't have anything to say. And I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, if I ain't got anything to say, I'm not just going to post it. Like today, I actually did something. Like I actually did post something. I'm like, you don't even want to post that. Delete. That ain't what you want to post. Right. So it's like, you don't have to do anything. Like, and when you are trusting yourself more, when you're trusting that what is meant for you won't be missed, it's a game changer.
Game changer.
It truly is.
Yeah.
Love it.
100%.
I'm so appreciative of you being on here. How can people find you? Like, how can they follow and just see the amazingness that is you?
Thank you so much. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm on TikTok also. It's the Samantha Washington, THE Samantha Washington on Instagram, on TikTok, and then I'm also on Facebook, but under Mended Fitness. So that was my fitness business, but I'm keeping it for now under that title. So Mended Fitness, that's MENDED Fitness, FITNESS. And that's our group on Facebook. And I opening that group back up because I want to create a safe space for us to talk about these things. Sometimes
Yes.
if you're in the people pleasing, if you're dealing with narcissists, if you're in a toxic relationship, you might not know where to go. You might not know what you're feeling. You might not know why you're feeling what you're feeling. You might be gaslit to the point where you don't even know who you are. You're confused. You don't trust yourself. And you need some place to just let that thing out and not feel alone. So Mended Fitness is the place. Okay. We got you. We are a family. I so if you're interested in, a space like that, no judgment, none of that extra stuff that you're already dealing with. It's just place to vent, place to talk, place to share information. Because I don't have all the information, you know, and everybody has different ideas, and it's good to just be able to share. So I invite you, just there, answer a couple of questions, and then I'll get you in there.
Great. I'll make sure to put the link to the group in the show notes as well. But
Yes.
people need that space. I mean, people,
Yeah.
when you have that aha or when you think something might be wrong, but you don't know where to go, having that space to where you know that you're not alone
Yes.
and it's a step that you're not the only one who's taking these steps to changing those habits because it didn't take you, 1 minute to make those habits. It's going to
Right.
take you a second to change those habits, and
Right.
having a community is so key. So I honor you for having that and doing that. So that's amazing.
Yes. Thank you so much.
And so at the end of every show, I do a quick fire questions. No social security number, just basic questions. So whatever comes to mind, just answer the question and you'll be good. So there's no right or wrong.
Got
You
it.
ready?
Yes.
Okay. Aisle or window?
Whew. Okay. This is a great question because I just got off a flight. I'm gonna say window. I'm gonna
Okay.
say window. Yeah, because I'm always on the window seat. I'm always picking a window seat. I've learned that it has to be the left window and it can't be on the exit row because sometimes there's a gap. Like there's a lot of things. And I sleep on my left side. I was always picking the right window and not trying to figure out why that didn't make sense. But I'm always sleeping on my left side and I'm always falling asleep leaning somewhere. So as much as I would love the aisle so I can just have access to the restroom, I'm gonna just make those people stand up because if I have the aisle, I'm going to be unconscious before the flight lands because somebody's going to hit me with their cart
Okay.
because my head is always leaning over. So yeah, window. All right. Because don't nobody want the middle seat. You got to be weird. I mean, I guess I'm not going to call you weird, but you're going to be interesting. I got to
I'm
talk to
going to call
people
you
who like the
weird.
middle seat. Listen, I was on a flight back on Sunday. I'm looking to my right. This guy has a whole row to himself and he chose the middle seat. And I
Oh,
just
no, if I
couldn't
have a whole
stop.
row to myself, I do choose the middle seat because then I
Yeah,
can spread out, but I have to have the
that's
whole row to myself.
yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I want to lean on something. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I wouldn't just choose it off the bat. No
Okay.
way. Not if there's more options.
So what does hello well living mean to you? Or living hello well mean to you?
Hello, well living. Okay, I'm loving these questions, first of all. So on brand, girl, get it. Hello, well to me. First of all, I'm not from Cali, but I definitely want to take some skating classes over there. But hello, well to me means like, I'm living my best life. I don't know the rest of the words.
Girl, I can't sing, so
I
I'm
can't
not
sing
going to do
either. So sorry for you guys' ears, but Hello well means that I'm living my best life and I am like all aspects of my life, finance, emotional, physical, mental. What else? All the other goals, relational, all of that is like great. And even if there's hiccups, I know I can manage, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel like that comes from growth, you know?
Love it.
So yeah, that's what it means to me.
All right. What's always in your travel bag?
Oh, girl.
Just say whatever just came to mind. It was the first thing that came to mind. I
Listen, I'm gonna
saw it.
always have my own wash rag because I just don't feel like using other people's.
Ain't nothing wrong with that one
Yeah,
whatsoever. I
and it's
love
a
that one.
Korean one. It's the little Korean ones that are like that like really hard, but
Oh, yep.
yeah, they get into their nitty gritties.
They do, they do, they do. And then the last question is if you were going to give advice to your younger self on what I'm calling this wellness revolution. And the wellness revolution is women of color learning to put their own oxygen mask on first and making themselves a priority and not people pleasing. What advice would you give to your younger self to be in that revolution and to live the life that you truly desire?
Yes, it would be trust yourself, sis.
Love it.
Trust yourself. That's it. If I trusted myself more, my life would be different. I'm glad I realized or learned what I've learned now, but yeah, trust yourself. When you're at the office, on the Zoom call, when you're talking with your mom, dad, whoever, trust yourself. Trust your experiences. When somebody, just because I know for a fact that a lot of us, if we're recovering people pleasers, we've thought about everyone else first before we trusted ourselves. And yes, feelings do lie sometimes, but when they're consistent about the same person every single time, you got to trust it. So yeah, trust yourself.
And period on that one. Thank you, Samantha, for being here. Thank you all for listening. Make sure to follow Samantha. She is the bomb.
Thank
I hope
you.
people say that, but I still like saying that.
Yes.
And I will see you guys next week on the Hello Well with Danielle podcast. Ciao.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Hello Well with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hello Well with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hello Well Danny on Twitter. And if you like hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.